From Lebanon, Tennessee, just outside the birthplace of country music, the MNN Xfinity Series is about to hit all the right notes at Nashville Superspeedway. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Independence Racing Network. Mike Wright is looking to extend his winning streak to 4 tonight as he has opened a 99-point lead over Bobby Blazer in our season standings. I'm Dave Regal, back and better than ever, and I'll be with you every step of the way, from the green flag to the checkered flag, on the Independence Racing Network. And folks, glad to have you in with us tonight. As speaking of Mike Wright, our 3-in-a-row winner, right now laying his qualifying attempts here at Nashville Superspeedway. He has laid right now fastest lap so far in qualifying at 30.79 seconds, getting around this piece pretty quick and easy. Followed by Jeff Carson from Joe Gibbs Racing, and Brandon Minto now sits atop the pile in the number 12 Chevrolet as he has now laid down his first lap as we're going to watch him take the second. And we see Brandon Minto being there in P2, following Eugenio Alonso in the number 86 Chevrolet, as he has now posted a 30.60. Just bear with us for just a moment, folks, as drivers still out here getting their act together, as we are too at the Independence Racing Network. Just a little bit of a technical difficulty, nothing completely out of control, but ugly nonetheless, as we're trying to make sure that iRacing looks exactly the way that it should here in our Conshohocken, Pennsylvania studios, as sometimes things just get a little sloppy here as far as technology goes, especially when we have updates and software problems, so on and so forth. But needless to say, glad to have you in with us tonight. Eugenio Alonso sitting atop the pile. Brad Gunn here in the number 36 Toyota Supra has just laid down a P4 attempt here. Looking good so far this evening. Josh Ward outputting his first lap down. As always, looking great here. Josh Ward, one of those drivers that we're always glad to have out on track with, these guys here in the up-and-coming league. And to be completely honest, I say up-and-coming because that's what Xfinity is in the real world. But here in the SNN family of racing series, the MNN Xfinity Series has become the premier series, as we have some of the longest green flag runs, some of the fewest mistakes, and some of the best racing amongst the Cup, Xfinity, and Truck Series in the MNN Xfinity Series in the SNN family of racing series. And once again, welcome in tonight, as we've got quite a night of racing tonight here. 188 laps at Nashville Superspeedway. Of course, we do have stage racing. We'll get into that as we get further on here in the evening. Nashville Superspeedway, although that it's called a Superspeedway, would still qualify as an intermediate track, of course, at just 1.5 miles. Of course, Superspeedways generally are 2.5, or in the case of Talladega, 2.66 miles. However, Nashville Superspeedway, to differentiate from its counterpart, the Nashville Fairgrounds, they've decided to be called the Nashville Superspeedway. Of course, I feel like SMI, who now owns Nashville Superspeedway, will probably make some kind of change, and chances are they'll start to follow that SMI pattern, where it'll suddenly be something like Nashville Motor Speedway or something to that effect, as so many of those SMI tracks are. And glad to have you in with us tonight, as qualifying about halfway through. And as I say halfway through, we have 19 total drivers in the field tonight. So kind of a small field, but and 13 of those drivers have, of course, qualified already. And speaking of the point standings, as I had mentioned earlier, Mike Wright, out of 15 races, has won 7 of them, all by his lonesome. Bobby Blazer in second position right now in the point standings, 99 points behind Mike Wright, with 4 wins to his credit, 10 top 5s and 12 top 10s. Bob Nestor, your MNN Xfinity Series commissioner, has clawed his way into third position now, as he has 17 races counted, so more than both Mike Wright and Bobby Blazer, and 2 top 5s and 7 top 10s with 445 points. He could really do himself a favor, especially as we're getting ready to head into those summer months and the heart of the MNN Xfinity Series season. And, of course, getting ready to go toward the playoffs as we head toward August, in just over a month. So John Bawalda, the Tuesday Night Thunder Trucks commissioner, in fourth position right now, and rounding out the top 5 in points is Jeff Carson. And Jeff, of course, starting tonight, the way things look, in 12th position. 6th position right now in the season standings, Dakota K, followed by Chris Claude, the SNN Cup Series commissioner. And Bradley Gunn in 8th, Michael Overstreet in 9th, and Zach Osborne in 10th. So a lot going on there in the points. And obviously all 3 series commissioners between, Nestor, Bawalda, and Claude, as we are getting ready to get some really good racing tonight. And as I had mentioned earlier, the MNN Xfinity Series is amongst the top. I mean, quite frankly, although we always think that Cup Series is the best of the best of the best, here in the SNN family of racing, it seems like Xfinity is where the action's at. I mean, there may only be 19 drivers in the field tonight, but I'd be willing to bet dollars to donuts, as Grandpa Evans would say, that this is going to be the best racing that you see on the iRacing servers this week. And we are all geared up and ready to settle in for a night of some great racing. And just before we do that, we do want to step aside here and check in with our sponsors, our good friends over at Northeastern Fire and Air. In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have: breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today, and know that...
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Qualifying is complete here in the MNN Xfinity Series at Nashville Superspeedway. So glad to have everybody in with us tonight. And just as things are going to be getting ready to roll off here, we will get some time to check in with this amazing grid that we are going to see tonight. Led off by Bennett Allen. As we pull that starting grid up, Bennett Allen going to be sitting on the inside of row 1, pole position, with Eugenio Alonso on the outside of row 1, sitting in P2. Row 2 is going to be made up of Brandon Minto and Matt White in the 12 and 56 cars. Row 3 going to be Mike Wright in the number 98 Ford, with Josh Ward on his outside in row 3. Row 4 made up of Bob Nestor and Brad Gunn. Tony Burton, Ian Humphreys going to be in row 5. Chris Claude and Corey Burkett in row 6. Row 7, Jeff Carson on the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra, followed by Aaron Mack on his outside to round out row 7. Row 8, Glenn Ballard and John Timms, Carlos Ramos and Matt Mackin going to make up row 9, and Matthew Helm going to be starting 19th on the inside of row 10, and starting shotgun on the field, Joshua Coppernoll in the number 42 Chevrolet. So glad to have everybody here on the grid tonight as the iRacing.com pace car going to be leading the field off of pit road, and 1 by 1, 2 by 2, just as if they're going to the arc, these drivers will start to pull off pit road. As I had mentioned earlier, 1.3 miles the length around this piece, as track temperature going to be 114 degrees and the 90-degree sun beating down on this track, but keep an eye on that wind as we are going to be 9 miles an hour coming down the track tonight. So definitely a big deal, but just as we say all that, Bennett Allen has his hand on the button. So ladies and gentlemen, grab some popcorn, call a friend, buckle in, and we are going to have green flag racing at Nashville Superspeedway in the MNN Xfinity Series here on the Independence Racing Network. And just as I say that, it looks like we are under caution already here on lap 1 of 188, as Corey Burkett seems to have gotten it all wrong. We're going to take a look, and we'll see if we can find him here on the track. Bear with us here, folks. Just as we're getting everything, here we go. We're going to watch the 13 car of Corey Burkett getting bumped into by the 31 of Aaron Mack, and just sends Burkett spinning like a top on lap number 1. Not even able to get into turn number 1. So definitely kind of a rough start, as something we don't see very often here in MNN Xfinity Series action, as you know, usually a very clean group here, and I'm sure Aaron Mack is feeling pretty awful right now in the number 31 Toyota Supra, but definitely a fairly boneheaded move before we even get into turn number 1. Of course, Bennett Allen here leading the field behind the iRacing.com pace car. Of course, iRacing.com, quite a community of, you know, folks out here online. And if you're new to iRacing.com, or if you're new to some of the action and some of the things that we do here, you know, iRacing is made up of, you know, more than 10,000 people from across the world, really, that are basically always racing. There's never a time that you can get on the iRacing.com servers and not find somebody to race with, which is always really exciting. You know, a lot of drivers are out here week in and week out, just like we are here in MNN Xfinity Series action. And, you know, these guys are building their own setups. I mean, they're basically race engineers. You know, there's just a lot going on. And, of course, you know, there's dozens of car choices, track types, series that you can run on iRacing.com, and you know, the technology behind iRacing.com is second to none, and anybody who has ever seen iRacing will absolutely attest to that. To be honest, there are a lot of, professional real-life NASCAR drivers who are out here on the iRacing.com servers on a regular basis, basically out here practicing as the technology for force feedback and, the way that things work here on iRacing has gotten so good that sometimes it's even hard to tell the difference between real life and the digital world. And, you're going to see a lot of that tonight, even as we look down the field here. We take a look at Brad Gunn in the number 36 Toyota Supra, of course, sponsored by 1110. And, he's sitting on the inside right now of Mike Wright. And as we had mentioned before, Mike Wright on a 3-race winning streak. And very strong driver here, of course, our points leader. And just so everybody's aware of what's going on, we will bring us back to that in just a moment. But we're going to try this again here on lap number 4 of 188. Marching toward lap number 45 to end stage 1. Bennett Allen gets through the Geico restart zone, and we are back under green here at the start-finish line. Folks, if you are just tuning in, on YouTube.com, I'm Dave Regal with the Independence Racing Network on YouTube.com. And make sure that you subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, and give us a shout in the live chat. Let us know who you're pulling for. So, it'll be really nice to be able to get a hold, show your friends on here, get their sponsors recognized. Sponsors, if you're watching, and I know that you are, make sure that you're giving, your driver a shout out. Make sure that we can get that guy highlighted. Like I had said before, these drivers are out here working week in and week out. And, right now, Bennett Allen proving all of that work as he has now opened up a 0.82 second lead over Matt White in the number 56 Toyota Supra. Definitely something we don't usually see, as Matt White and Mike Wright are usually side by side atop this pile. But tonight looks like Eugenio Alonso going to be harassing Matt Wright as Brandon Minto follows him in the number 12 Buffalo Wild Wings Chevrolet Camaro. Looking back through the field, your third place in points, Bob Nestor driving the number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra, starting to make his way up now as he is closing in on Mike Wright, as Mike Wright is just 0.4 of a second ahead of Nestor now, who is still where he started tonight, but still closing in that gap. And moving up through the field a little bit here, Josh Ward in the number 1 Chevrolet Camaro as we dive into turn 3. Making his name known as he has now gained a spot. Right now, your largest mover of the night is Carlos Ramos right here in this pink number 97 Toyota Supra, as he is leading Ian Humphreys in the number 32 and Jeff Carson in the number 9. As these three Toyotas, it is all Toyotas from 10th to 15th position with absolutely no chance at letting a Chevrolet or a Ford in there, as Corey Burkett is way back in 19th, the first Ford. And Joshua Coppernell now just 0.2 of a second trying to get in the mix here with these Toyotas. But right now the Toyotas kind of holding 10th through 15th down as we are lap number 10 of 188. Glad to have everybody in with us tonight. Welcome in. I'm Dave Regal here at the microphone with the Independence Racing Network. So glad to have everybody with us. Always a pleasure. And Brandon Minto right now running in 4th position, dropped a spot, but still working his way toward Bennett Allen here in the number 3. And, these drivers like Bennett Allen, he's a setup builder. He's out here. He's working on that setup all week long. And, we have stage racing in the Xfinity Series, so there will be a scheduled chance to take a look at that setup, see if he can make some chassis adjustments, some air pressure adjustments. But right now, if I was Bennett Allen, I wouldn't touch a thing, because he has now opened up a 3/4 of a second lead over Matt White, who's trying to put some distance between himself and Eugenio Alonso in the number 86 Chevrolet Camaro. But not really putting that much real estate between the two of them. And as I mentioned, we do have stage racing here in the MNN Xfinity Series. Tonight we are a total of 188 laps, with stage 1 ending at lap number 45. So at the completion of lap number 45, when the 10th place car rolls past the start-finish line, the yellow flag will be thrown by race control, and we will go under competition caution. Then stage 2 will end at lap number 90. And of course, again, once the 10th place car crosses to lap number 91, looks like Brandon Minto being passed by Mike Wright. Not real sure what has brought Brandon Minto so slow, but you know what? We're going to take a quick run back here and just see how simple it was for Mike Wright to have, basically passed Brandon Minto. He just gets a heck of a run coming out of turn 4 on the inside of Minto, who maybe is trying to save tires a little bit here. And Mike Wright just easily taking that position away from him. Anyway, stage 2 will end at lap number 90. And, of course, then we will go the remaining laps to the end, about 98 laps, to make up the total of 188 laps. And, you got to keep in mind, even though this is a simulator, they will have, of course, tonight we do have the weather being simulated as it would be that day, today in Nashville. So, of course, yesterday in Nashville for the Cup Series, of course, we had a lot of rain and, a delay that eventually brought out, Chase Elliott as your race winner in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series. And, me personally, I'm a fan of the Hendrick Chevrolets, so it's always nice when I see one of those guys get into victory lane. And Chase Elliott especially, as, he came through the Junior Motorsports stable early on, and just glad to see these drivers, whether their last name is popular or not, or famous or not, or made by their dad or not, he's still, Bill Elliott's not riding around in that race car with Chase. I mean, Chase has to do that all on his own. So before anybody says, oh, he's only there because of his dad, no, I didn't see Bill riding shotgun in that Chevrolet. And just like I don't see anybody riding shotgun, Dale Earnhardt reincarnate here in the number 3 Chevrolet. I don't see him riding shotgun with Bennett Allen. We'll take a look here inside his cockpit. And right now it looks like Bennett Allen, basically a pretty good night behind the wheel right now, as he's not really fighting things. You see that wheel just making its progression coming out of turn 2, coming down the backstretch here. And we see him getting off the throttle, drifting down into the turn. Obviously, he's feathering that throttle just a hair. And, and he rubs the wall just a little coming out of turn 4. And, that can be a little treacherous. These Xfinity cars have so much power at the rear that you really got to be careful. And coming out of, basically coming out of a turn exit. And the pride of Stewartville, Minnesota, Matt White, working his way forward as he is now running in 3rd position, chasing down Eugenio Alonso here on lap number 18 of 188. And this little 3-car pack is going to be pretty interesting all night long, as Mike Wright is now starting to sniff that rear bumper, and he got ready to move on the inside of Matt White. And, like I had mentioned earlier, these two drivers usually together atop the pile. Looks like maybe they might work together to get around Eugenio Alonso. But right now, kind of sticking it out in 3rd and 4th. Moving back here, Carlos Ramos has gained another 2 spots here, as he has now gotten around Brad Gunn and has now gotten himself up 9 positions after starting in 17th. Carlos Ramos does. So here on lap number 20 of 188, he has now gained 9 positions and has MNN Xfinity Series veteran Josh Ward and Commissioner Bob Nestor in his sights. As we are marching our way toward lap number 45, we also want to take a look back at some drivers here who not usually, as far back as they are this evening, but, Jeff Carson, another setup wizard here. I know he really loves these Xfinity cars. And, sometimes he's fighting a little bit of a tight car. Jeff definitely doesn't like to be in the loose department, but or in the too loose department, but he certainly doesn't like to be tight. And speaking of setups, the Premier Racing Setup Shop Toyota Supras driven by John Timms and Ian Humphreys here in the 46 and the 32. These drivers, every week it seems like they are nothing but together. So obviously their setups almost identical as the EE Sports machines are working their way around turn number 4 and back to the start-finish line. As I do believe Matthew Helm, their teammate here in the number 25, the EE Sports machine, also sponsored by Premier Racing Setups, working his way out of turn 4, being chased down by SNN Cup Series Commissioner Chris Claude. And Chris had himself a great night last night in Cup Series action here at Nashville Superspeedway after 150 laps in the Cup Series. So obviously he is looking to make a repeat performance this evening. Of course, Chris, one of the most patient drivers in all of iRacing. I'm sure especially during stage 1 here, going to be setting himself up, maybe get ready to make a little bit of an adjustment, as we do see the 31 car of Aaron Mack working the inside of him, as Aaron Mack had caused that earlier wreck that had taken Corey Burkett out. Now works his way around Chris Claude, and Corey Burkett's still out here turning laps, and quite frankly, still making his way past, as he gets past Chris Claude, as a matter of fact. So these two drivers still out here battling. Brad Gunn trying to take away 8th position from Carlos Ramos here as we come through the front tri-oval area and dive back into turn 1. Looks like Carlos Ramos going to be able to hold on to that spot for now, as he is able to hold that bottom line a little bit tighter than Brad Gunn. 25 laps in of 188. We're working our way toward lap number 45. Josh Ward running in 6th position, being chased down by Bob Nestor. Both of these drivers, as we had mentioned, about the setups. And let me get into setups. The MNN Xfinity Series and SNN Cup Series and Tuesday Night Thunder Trucks, we are an open setup league here. So basically that means that you can twist that chassis any which way that you like and, make it more comfortable for you. And of course, the more comfortable a driver is in a setup, the faster he or she will be. So basically, everybody's out here. It's not a level playing field, because if you're a setup wizard and you can tweak that caster a little bit, or maybe get that bump rebound on your chassis just right, you can be a hair faster, and obviously fast enough to beat out these drivers. Now, an interesting fact here is we're starting to see this gap that Bennett Allen had opened up so much earlier in the evening now starting to evaporate little by little, as now Eugenio Alonso looks to make the pass to the beginning, to the front of the field, as he and Bennett Allen nearly make contact. Bennett getting on that right rear of Eugenio Alonso, and Eugenio Alonso, your new race leader here in the number 86 Chevrolet Camaro, is opening up himself one healthy lead, as Bennett Allen seems to be just shrinking back here on the field. 28 laps in, it's almost like he has burned his tires off, and everybody else is now eating his exhaust for breakfast, as Matt White looks to be the next driver to take a Bennett Allen position. Carlos Ramos, with plenty of real estate in front and behind him, is definitely not in the position that Eugenio is here, as Alonso working his way down the backstretch, diving into turn 3. These drivers at this point in the evening have got to be pleased with their performance, as Eugenio Alonso, Mike Wright, Bennett Allen, Matt White, and so many others here tonight, are really being consistent so far this evening. So nothing to be ashamed of whatsoever. Even as far back here as Brad Gunn is in 9th and Jeff Carson in 10th. I mean, Jeff Carson chipping away at everybody in front of him, even as the 46 of John Timms nearly makes contact with him and winds up having to tighten up and stay out of Jeff Carson's way, because Jeff will absolutely not come off of that line if I know Jeff Carson He's a driver where he will hit his mark every time, more consistently than anybody else I know. And believe me, if you think you're going to try to get in on that line of Jeff Carson, you are sadly mistaken, my friend, and I suggest that you try something else to get around him. Meanwhile, Mike Wright, our points leader, running second position right now, chasing down Eugenio Alonso. And, for lack of a better term, Mike Wright, when he's not leading a race, which is seldom here at this point in the season, he's kind of like a cat playing with a mouse. He's just trying to play with it. The cat doesn't mean to kill the mouse. It just happens that way. And Mike Wright absolutely just going to play with his food a little bit here as he's getting ready to gobble up that lead out here with Eugenio Alonso with a 0.4 of a second lead over Mike Wright. Matt White, meanwhile, being chased down by Bennett Allen as Matt has gotten around Bennett. And right now, Bennett probably a very frustrated driver as he was just one of the fastest drivers on the track with a 1.8 of a second lead over the rest of the field. Has really shrunk back here, so not sure what's going on with Bennett Allen. We will have to check in with him at some point this evening. .33 laps complete here of 188, working our way toward lap number 45 for a competition caution. Eugenio Alonso, your race leader, followed by Mike Wright in P2. P3, Matt White, with about a 1.5 second gap between himself and Mike Wright. So right now, Matt White hoping for a little bit of a caution maybe here in the JCB Toyota Supra here at Nashville Superspeedway. Josh Ward running in fourth, and Bennett Allen, your former race leader and pole running in fifth. Brandon Minto in sixth. Bob Nestor, number 29, Relative Properties Toyota Supra in seventh, where he had begun his year. Carlos Ramos in eighth, up 9 positions from where he had started. Brad Gunn and Jeff Carson round out your top 10. And, Josh Ward now up 2 positions. And we're going to take a quick look here at Brandon Minto, who had seemed to have gone off track. We'll take a look. We see Bennett Allen spinning Brandon Minto almost. We're going to see exactly what happened there. And we see Bennett Allen just behind Brandon Minto, and gets on his left rear and just shoves him down into the grass, but we are still green. We are still green as Minto was able to get down into the grass and come back out on track without turning sideways. So that's a good thing, especially for getting us to that competition caution at lap number 45. Glenn Ballard here in 13th position, having a little bit of trouble this evening. Definitely new to the MNN Xfinity Series, but Glenn, absolutely a tough driver out here tonight. And I'm sure he's just laying in wait, waiting to start making his move. But of course, the Premier Racing setup team here with EE Sports, the 25, 32, and 46, all running together. And, at this point in the evening, it seems like these 3 drivers are going to be sticking together here in 10th, 11th, and 12th. Josh Ward side by side with with Matt White, and we're going to keep an eye right here as we can see Josh Ward working the inside left rear of Matt White, and he almost has the edge on him, but White dives down in front of him as we cross the start-finish line on lap number 39. This is absolutely for a little bit of extra bonus points here at the end of stage number 1. As Josh Ward now sniffing the rear here, he's going to drop down and see if he can maybe pass. They are almost touching as Josh manages to edge underneath him. Going into turn 3, Matt White just gets a better run on entry and cuts off the nose of Josh Ward here. And it looks like Josh is going to do nothing but try this again and again. And quite frankly, I don't blame him, because all he needs Matt White to do is hiccup just a little bit here as we go into turn 2. That'll leave Josh the ability to turn up the crazy a little bit here on Matt White and see if he can steal away third position before the end of stage number 1 here at Nashville Superspeedway on the Independence Racing Network. Glad to have you in with us tonight. If you are just tuning in on YouTube.com, make sure that you are, well, I didn't need all the spam here in our YouTube. But make sure that you are subscribing, turning on those bell notifications, and also at the same time, make sure that you are giving us a like over on Facebook, the Independence Racing Network, as we are glad to have all of you with us each and every night. And, you know, these drivers are always glad to have everybody. Keeping an eye on them. And, of course, not too many of you viewing right this second, but make sure that you grab a friend, tell them about all the awesome racing that you're seeing tonight. Of course, we see Bob Nestor here getting ready to pass Bennett Allen as he is on the apron looking for that edge to get around Allen. We see them going into turn 1 as Allen able to hold Nestor off. That's got to be frustrating as he had such a run coming into the tri-oval out of turn 4 as now we go down the backstretch. Nestor looking to try to draft up into the rear bumper of Bennett Allen, but I got to be honest, this early in the race, I expect to see Bob maybe back off a little bit and maybe not be near as aggressive because Bennett Allen obviously, and it looks like Bennett Allen now going to take the apron side and open the door for Nestor, who didn't have the run on him. But, you know, so early in the race, you don't want to get too aggressive because you wind up making mistakes that, you know, come back to haunt you later in the race, as we have seen so many times over the years, over the seasons here in Monday Night Xfinity Series action. And now we see Carlos Ramos getting in on the dance as he is now trying to get around Nestor. And it looks like he will borrow some draft from Bennett Allen, but winds up getting tight here as we are about to be at lap number 45. Oh, and speaking of tight, then he kind of goes a little dirt tracky there as the rear end of the number 97 Toyota Supra starts to kick loose on him. And now Ramos is side by side with Bennett Allen as Nestor has gotten past Allen, and we're coming back to the tri-oval here on lap number 45. Remember, we have to complete lap number 45. So as Eugenio Alonso and the rest of the leaders are working their way into lap traffic, we see quite a battle here this much further back in the field, as now Nestor has basically secured 5th position. We will wait for Eugenio Alonso to come around and collect that green and white checkered flag here to complete stage number 1. Eugenio Alonso, Mike Wright, Josh Ward, Matt White, Carlos Ramos, Bob Nestor, Bennett Allen, Brad Gunn, Jeff Carson, and John Timms rounding out your top 10 here as the competition caution is thrown. Those 10 drivers going to be receiving bonus points in the season standings here in Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series. And just as a heads up, basically that means that whoever won the stage, in this case Eugenio Alonso, he will receive 10 bonus points. Mike Wright will receive 9, Josh Ward 8, and so on, all the way down to John Timms, the number 46 Premier Racing Setup Shop Toyota Supra, and he will receive 1 bonus point. But you know what? A bonus point's a bonus point. Every little bit helps, especially when we're here on June 27th, and that season runs all but into November this year. So a lot of racing left, but the way these drivers have been, that's impressive. You know, with Alonso, Wright, Ward, White, and Ramos sitting atop the pile. And we should see just about everybody, if not everybody, all come down pit road as this parade is about to be there. Looks like everybody from first all the way through 17th, 18th. The top 18 all coming down pit road, as it looks like Matt Mackin going to stay out, as well as Tony Burt in the number 4 Chevrolet. We'll keep a close eye on the race off of pit road as these drivers have all come in. We do see your Stage 1 winner, Eugenio Alonso, here getting ready to try to get off of pit road as he manages. Oh, Mike Wright and he are both side by side, but it looks like Alonso managed to edge Wright out. Nope. Wow. I'll tell you what, we're going to take a look back at that one more time because that was impressive as far as I'm concerned. Of course, you'll have to forgive the way that things kind of look here because, of course, we are still very digital. And it's so hard to tell. And it does look like Alonso was able to beat him off of pit road. So, you know, good for Alonso, but it looks like Wright's still going to try to be the Pied Piper here. Maybe iRacing Timing and Scoring saw something that we couldn't hear on our end. But as far as I'm concerned, it definitely looked like Mike Wright had beaten Alonso, or Alonso had beaten Mike Wright. But, you know, iRacing Timing and Scoring, we don't question them. You try not to because every time we do, somebody at the iRacing headquarters up in Massachusetts finds out about it, and we don't want to upset those people.
Not X and O's. I do O2 sensors, but not defenses. Yeah, I make a right call to keep your car in the game. Don't even need a playbook, it's all in my brain. Fuel injectors, alternators, radiators too. It's who I am, it's what I do. Never know how. Never know how.
There's a new approach to lawn care, Preen One Lawn Care. Preen One does away with the hassle of multiple bags of different products. It has everything you need for a beautiful lawn in one bag. And all it takes is one application. For season-long weed control and feeding, apply the granules when the lawn is wet and weeds are actively growing. It blocks crabgrass all season. It prevents crabgrass seeds from growing. It kills the seedlings too, even when applied 4 weeks after they sprout. It's your best defense against tough weeds like dandelion, chickweed, henbit, and hundreds more. Plus, its slow-release formula feeds the lawn evenly for months to build stronger roots for maximum heat and drought resistance. Preen One delivers convenience and better performance in one package with one application. Spend more time enjoying your lawn and less time working on it. Preen One, and it's done. It's a lawn dream come true.
And welcome back to Lebanon, Tennessee, here just outside Nashville at the Nashville Superspeedway. Right now you're checking out Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series action. I'm Dave Regal here with the Independence Racing Network. Mike Wright and Eugenio Alonso going to be featured here on the front row as we get ready to restart here for stage number 2 action in the MNN Xfinity Series here at Nashville Superspeedway. We see Mike Wright on the inside with Eugenio Alonso, who had won stage 2 on his outside. Carlos Ramos, Josh Ward, Bob Nestor, Brad Gunn, Jeff Carson, John Timms, Brandon Minto, and Aaron Mack round out the top 10. Tighten those belts back up. Make sure that if you haven't already, call a friend and get in here and watch this race as we enter the Geico restart zone. Mike Wright takes off, and we are back under green. Leo Bonacasa, glad to have you in the YouTube.com live chat. Yeah, I don't know exactly what was going on in the live chat, but it looks like we're being spammed and I can't clear them fast enough. But he does want to give a shout out to Money House Racing, and glad to have those drivers out here on track tonight. Leo Bonacasa, of course, one of our veterans in the SNN Cup Series, and Leo, a great driver in and of himself. As we were a little bit door handle to door handle last night. I saw him pass me. Of course, everybody passed me last night. Sounds like Matthew Helm has caused a kerfuffle back here. We're going to take a look. as it looks like he was actually bumped into by the 31 of Aaron Mack, and now the 25 sideways, but we are still under green, which is a good thing, as that will absolutely keep things moving along here rather healthily. Mike Wright, your points leader, is also your race leader, followed by Eugenio Alonso, Carlos Ramos, Josh Ward, and Bob Nestor rounding out your top 10. These drivers tonight so far have put together one heck of a show for you folks at home, as of course we're all kind of at home basically, but you folks not out here on the track, as we're taking a look at Eugenio Alonso being chased down by Josh Ward, and quite frankly, we can see just behind Eugenio, Josh Ward being challenged by Carlos Ramos in the number 97. And of course, Carlos right now, your biggest mover of the race, as he is up 13 positions now, running in fourth place here in the number 97 Toyota Supra. Jeff Carson up 7 positions, as well as John Timms in the number 46 Premier Racing Setup Shop Toyota Supra. So a couple of drivers here who have gained 7 spots. Carlos Ramos with 13, and then we take a look back here at Joshua Coppernoll in the number 42 Chevrolet Camaro, and glad to have him with us. Of course, he is my colleague over at Sim Racing Media. He is one of the featured voices on SNN Cup Series action every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. So glad to have Joshua out here and turning laps, as quite frankly, it's always nice when those of us that are in the booth on a normal basis are able to hit the track with the people that we get to see from the booth. It's kind of an interesting experience. Of course, I also call races for Sim Racing Media. Whoa, we see Josh Ward getting up on the high side of Eugenio Alonso, and now Carlos Ramos looking to the left rear quarter panel of Josh Ward. Now he secures the spot away from Ward, so perhaps Josh Ward made an adjustment that he's not happy with. Anyway, I work over at Sim Racing Media on my normal day, and it's always neat where a Wednesday night, the Way She Goes Racing League, they're broadcast every other week. So on the weeks that they're not broadcast, I get to race with them. And it's so cool to be able to run side by side with those guys and gals over there, and get to do a little door handle to door handle rubbing with the folks that you're used to just watching. So, for Joshua Coppernoll back here in the number 42, up 6 spots, he's having a heck of a night. And also up 6 spots is Jeff Carson in the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra. Of course, usually that Napa Auto Parts paint scheme on a Chevrolet, but tonight here it is on a Toyota, and that's okay. We won't hate on him for it, because right now he's doing a heck of a job there in the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra. These drivers from stem to stern all night long have done a great job keeping things safe and clean out here, as we are 60 laps in, working our way toward lap number 90. And at this point in the race, a lot of times tempers, especially if you've got a lot of cautions or something like that in a race, tempers can be flaring, people can be upset, feelings are hurt. But here in the MNN Xfinity Series, you see a lot of great competition. I mean, these drivers, week in and week out, are they're so good for one another. Even the best drivers like Josh Ward, or Mike Wright, Bob Nestor, these guys that are consistently up in the top 5 and 10, if not on the podium, are always willing to work with these drivers and develop these drivers. And, the Xfinity Series here, as I had mentioned earlier, almost becoming a little less of a development league because of how great the competition is. This really has become the premier, series in the SNN Cup family, the Sunday Night NASCAR family, of course, headed up by Commissioner Chris Claude of SNN Cup Series here in the number 10 Dasani Toyota Supra. Of course, the owner of SNN and the family of racing that we have here. And, of course, also the owner of Joe Gibbs, of the, virtual Joe Gibbs Racing here on SNN and MNN Xfinity Series and Tuesday Night Thunder Trucks. You know, Chris has assembled quite a group of leaders, and everybody works so well together. And, you know, like any other kind of league that we have on iRacing, there's hiccups. There's feelings here. Whoa, as Bennett Allen gets right into the back of the 46, it looks like he is trying to make the pass, and Bennett, I'm not sure if he was trying to take air or what he was doing, but we're going to see Jeff Carson hold on to the low side here and try to stay out of their way. As, you know, Bennett Allen's car almost looks like a bomb pop from the Mr. Softy truck, as it looks like he is going to use Jeff Carson as a pick to try to get around the 46 of John Timms, and he does so as John Timms got hung up behind Jeff Carson and then was able to get, or Bennett Allen was able to get around John Timms. Now, Bennett Allen starting to get dangerously close to the rear bumper of Jeff Carson, and Jeff just going to give him the space that he needs, because I'm sure Jeff has quite a car tonight, as he almost had some air taken off of him. He got loose coming out of turn 2, and it looks like Bennett Allen now has the advantage on the outside, but getting just so dangerously close. As we're going to stop, jump right in behind him, as now he's backed off a little bit, but he's going to swing down here to the apron to get a little bit more momentum going into turn 1, but he doesn't have the run on Carson, he thinks, and it's going to get real dicey real fast, as Bennett Allen trying to secure, while trying to capture P9 from Jeff Carson. In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have: breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today, and know that you can breathe easy with Northeastern Fire and Air. Welcome back into the, sorry about that audio problem, a little bit of a hiccup there. But welcome back into the Independence Racing Network broadcast studio. I'm Dave Regal here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania, keeping an eye closely on Mike Wright in the number 98 Ford Mustang, as he is leading the pack with 2.5 seconds over Eugenio Alonso, your Stage 1 winner. Josh Ward running in third, Carlos Ramos in fourth, Bob Nestor back in fifth, Matt White in sixth, Brandon Minto in seventh. Bennett Allen and John Timms are in eighth and ninth, with Jeff Carson rounding out your top 10. This has been an exciting race all night long, folks. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, these drivers have been practicing all week. They had some time last night on the SNN Cup Series side. And even with 69 laps in now, working our way toward lap number 90 to finish out Stage 2, these drivers are still going at it hammer and tongs, but doing it so cleanly. I mean, that to me is impressive, especially here on the iRacing.com servers. We see so many drivers get aggressive, see so many drivers get frustrated, and these drivers are being very patient tonight. They're being extremely diplomatic in the way that they're getting around this track. And quite frankly, I think this is something that Bob Nestor in the number 29 Toyota Super, sponsored by Relative Properties, should be absolutely thrilled about as a league owner, and something that Chris Claude and, of course, John Bawalda III, who's not with us tonight, should also be proud of, as these three guys have assembled these drivers week in and week out, and, you know, done so much organizing to make sure that this is a competitive league, that this is an exciting league. And we are just glad to have everybody in with us tonight. And, folks, if you are watching us on YouTube, make sure that you click that subscribe button, turn on those bell notifications so you can be notified every Monday night when MNN Xfinity Series goes live here at 9 p.m. from Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. And, you know, quite frankly, Just glad to have you all with us. And Leo Bonacasa, of course, right now the only person in our live chat. But, make sure that you're giving us a shout-out in the live chat. Let us know who you're pulling for, as we are now on lap number 72 of 188 at Nashville Superspeedway. And, of course, Nashville Superspeedway in Lebanon, Tennessee. So not exactly Nashville, but at the same time, not that far off. Nashville Superspeedway, of course, this is the, I believe, second year now that they've been hosting NASCAR, racing. Second consecutive year in a long time. But Nashville Superspeedway is actually, it's considered Gladeville, Tennessee, even though that it has a Lebanon postal address. But the track was built in 2001, so it's just over 20 years. And, it's 1 1/3 miles, so 1.33 miles. And, they call it a superspeedway, but of course its cousin, the Nashville Fairgrounds, obviously a very popular short track. They needed to be able to differentiate between the two, and have absolutely done so with relative ease, and gotten a lot of notoriety. Of course, a lot of support from a lot of different NASCAR teams. We're able to get things going back again here at Nashville Superspeedway. Of course, a lot of that was because it had closed at one point, following some sluggish attendance for major events and no prospects at that time of getting a Cup Series event. And basically, it was shut down on August 3rd, 2011, and of course, then came back, and it was fantastic. Of course, on June 2nd, 2020, reports have become, basically started surfacing. And then the rumors came true last year in 2021. And June 3rd, forgive me. Then March 23rd, 2021, Goodyear had hosted basically a tire test at the track and wanted to make sure everything was good. And then, basically SMI bought this track, rehabbed it, and got everybody back on board. And just glad to have these people, back in the NASCAR fold. As, last year, June of 2021, for the Ally 400, it was June 20th, 2021. Kyle Larson won one of his races from last season, and the Ally 400 was alive and well here at Nashville Superspeedway for the Cup Series. Of course, Xfinity Series has a little bit longer of a history here, as they were racing here the Pepsi 300 in 2001. And that, of course, the inaugural Pepsi 300 here at Nashville Superspeedway was won by Greg Biffle there, and probably what I'm assuming is 2001 would have been the National Guard Ford. But anyway, Greg Biffle had won that race. And then they basically, after 2011, the Nashville 300, which was won by Carl Edwards, nothing really went on, after Carl Edwards had won the Federated Auto Parts 300, the Nashville 300, and that was it. Until last year, when Kyle Busch had won the Tennessee Lottery 250, and Justin Allgaier won the Tennessee Lottery 250 this year, just a couple of days ago, on June 25th. Of course, also in 2001, your first Truck Series winner was Scott Riggs on August 10th, 2001, in the Federated Auto Parts 200. And before the track was closed in 2011, the Bully Hill Vineyards 200 and the Lucas Deep Clean 200 were won by Kyle Busch and none other than Austin Dillon that year in 2011. And, of course, this year on June 24th, so this past Friday, Ryan Preece wins in his fourth F-150 in 2022. So quite a lot of good names, big names, and even the IndyCar Series had been here for a while. In 2001, with an Oldsmobile engine, Buddy Lazier and his Dallara had won back in July of 2001. But they have not had an IndyCar Series race here since 2008. And 2008 in July, Scott Dixon won with his Honda from Chip Ganassi Racing. So obviously a lot of racing has gone on here at Nashville, and stand by, folks, as it looks like I've got to clear out the spam again from our YouTube live chat. Folks, if you are watching on YouTube, make sure that you stay away from any of these links. Of course, we know that they're spam. We know that they're awful. And, you know, quite frankly, not happy about it at all. But it happens to many different broadcasts, many different video feeds. Unfortunately, it's something that goes on here on Facebook, and not really a happy camper. So we'll try to get that cleaned up as best we can. Lap number 82, working our way toward lap number 90, a total of 188 laps. And, you know, keep in mind, folks, they're working with fewer sets of tires tonight, a total of 5, as last night we had 6 sets of tires in the Cup Series. They're working with a fewer number of tires than the Cup Series had last evening. So these drivers definitely going to have to be stretching things a little bit further here in the Xfinity Series. But at this point, you know, I know that these drivers are going to be able to stretch those tires, make things last, as, you know, Mike Wright here in the number 98 Ford Mustang has opened himself out an almost even 2.5 second lead over Eugenio Alonso, who's still being chased down by Josh Ward, who almost looked like he had gotten loose there coming out of turn 4. I just want to run that back because it looked like Josh Ward was doing his dirt track impression. As we'll see him run through here. Here he comes. We'll slow it down. And just on exit here at that second set of hash marks, it looks like Josh Ward was trying to bring the rear end of that car back under control, as we are pretty deep into this tire run. So obviously Josh getting to the end of the life of these tires, or at least for this particular stage here, as we are just a few laps shy of lap number 90. Right now, the way your top 10 looks, Mike Wright, Eugenio Alonso, Josh Ward, Carlos Ramos, and Matt White, your top 5. Bob Nestor in 6th, Brandon Minto in 7th, Bennett Allen and John Timms in 8th and 9th, and rounding out the top 10, Jeff Carson here in the number 9, Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra. But don't look now. Looks like Brad Gunn and Chris Claude are willing to get in here and do a little dance with Jeff Carson, as we are in the closing laps of stage number 2. Folks, glad to have you in with us on YouTube.com. Glad to have everybody in here. Make sure that you turn those bell notifications on. Make sure that you're subscribed to the Independence Racing Network. I'm Dave Regal. And, of course, if you like hanging out with me here on a Monday night, you can also catch me every other Wednesday on The Way She Goes Racing on SRM, or ESPN as we're known on YouTube.com. And, you know, you can always check out the rest of the great racing here. Of course, the Davis Brothers Roofing SNN Cup Series every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN and SRM. Of course, our good friends Josh Coppernall, who's currently driving the number 42 Chevrolet Camaro, and his booth partner Joseph Lester, also a Monday night Xfinity Series driver. They both call the SNN Cup Series. Then Tuesday night, Brian Britt and the Performance Motor Network over on Tuesdays bring you Cup Series action as Brad Gunn gets around Jeff Carson. Jeff gets a little loose. He'll stay in front of teammate Chris Claude, and here with 88, almost 89 laps in, I'd be willing to bet that he plays it a little cautious here, you know, so as to keep that chassis nice and clean and the body straight on that number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra. But up atop the pack, looks like Corey Burkett about to be a lap down, as Mike Wright now puts him that lap down. Up until this point, folks, you know, Mike Wright, even as fast as he has been, hasn't lapped a single car until this moment. I mean, Tony Burt is a couple laps down here, as you'll see in your ticker atop the screen. But Corey Burkett, the first car to actually be lapped by Mike Wright. So something to keep your eyes on as he is crossing for lap number 90. We'll get to the end of lap number 90, and we'll wait for that competition caution to be thrown once Brad Gunn, running in 10th position, crosses the start-finish line. And we see Mike Wright coming through turns 3 and 4 over top of the tunnel that gets the trucks and haulers in and out of this racetrack. He gets ready to cross the start-finish line and wrap up the stage number 2 win here at Nashville Superspeedway, followed by Eugenio Alonso, Josh Ward, Carlos Ramos, Matt White, Bob Nestor, Brandon Minto, Bennett Allen, John Timms, and Brad Gunn, rounding out the top 10 and drivers that will be receiving bonus points. And I do want to try to bring in our Stage 2 winner, Mike Wright, in the broadcast booth. And if you folks just bear with me here, we'll get a hold of him. And right now we have our Stage 2 winner and points leader with us in the broadcast booth, Mike Wright. Dave Regal up in the booth. You got a copy, brother?
Copy, Dave. How's it going?
Every day's a new adventure here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. But right now it looks like you're going to sit atop the pile one more time just in case it gets a little lonely up there. But, hey, listen, you didn't win Stage 1, but Stage 2 you came back full of fire and managed to get around Eugenio Alonso, narrowly beating him off of pit road. How's that car feeling tonight?
It's pretty good. Passing's pretty tough, so I just took my time there on the first run. Kind of wore the tires out a little bit, but was able to manage from the start there, so that was pretty good on the second run.
Now, correct me if I'm... Now, you're with... you run with Ferda, right? Or you EE? Okay, so you're Ferda. So now you, Brandon Minto, and you and Brandon Minto being out on track tonight, is there any chance that you guys are going to try to work together? I mean, right now, Brandon, the number 12, is kind of fighting his way forward the best that he can, but it's been kind of a rough night. Is there any chance that you guys are going to try to get together?
We're talking the whole race and kind of working together, and he's just kind of telling me how it's feeling, and I tell him what I'm doing with my setup, and so that's about all the help we're getting right now. If we get near each other on the track, like he let me by pretty easily there on the first run when I got to him, so that's kind of what we expect from each other, and we enjoy helping out when we can. Talladega, we can push each other and help a lot more, but a place like this, it's just kind of running your own race and making it easier on your teammate when you can, and some little adjustments in the middle of the race may make a difference for you.
Absolutely, man. And, as I was talking to the fans earlier on YouTube.com here, they call this a super speedway, but at 1.33 miles, it's really not. So, you're talking about Talladega and, being able to work together. I mean, if anything, in a place like this, having your teammate there in your Discord and on your radio, it's sometimes a little bit, calming, especially when you're up there kind of bored as you're running around. I mean, you had an even 2.5 second lead over Eugenio Alonso coming into the stage. I mean, just phenomenal, man. Phenomenal.
Yeah, just, getting the jump on the restart, and then they got to racing a little bit there for the first few laps, so I was able to get a lead without pushing hard on the tires, and then from that I just had some updates about the distance, and when I felt like they would make up a little ground, I'd go a little bit quicker if I could, but we'll see what happens in the last run. It seems like we got some green flag running here, so that'll be a long run at the end, some tire saving there as well, so it should be fun if we can get that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, listen, and here in MNN Xfinity, I mean, you and about that top 7, that's behind you, you're all tire-saving wizards. So I can't wait to see the rest of this race, man. So good luck.
All right, I appreciate it.
I just want to thank Mike Wright in the number 98 Ford Mustang, as, it seems like we talk to him every week. I mean, I haven't seen him not on the podium or in victory circle at the end of these races, and so many times we don't always take the time to check in with our stage winners, as we should have earlier with Eugenio Alonso, but, time did not allow that. Needless to say, Mike Wright, one heck of a driver. And Mike Wright will be followed by Eugenio Alonso on the outside of row 1. Row 2, as we get ready for the third stage tonight, will be Josh Ward and Carlos Ramos, Brandon Minto, Bob Nestor, Bennett Allen, Brad Gunn, John Timms, and Chris Claude going to be rounding out the top 10, as well as Jeff Carson. So, these drivers all still in it. Everybody's got a horse in the race, even as Tony Burt trying desperately to get that service done before everybody comes back around. But not sure if he's going to get time, as Tony's still sitting on pit road. I almost feel like I got to cheer for him as the iRacing.com pace car about to come back around, but it seems like Tony is just sitting there. So the iRacing.com pace car comes down pit road. Mike Wright enters the Geico restart zone, and we are back underway for stage number 3 in MNN Xfinity Series action, live from Nashville Superspeedway. John Timms working his way around Brad Gunn on the number 36 Toyota Supra. Looks like Corey Burkett managed to get sideways yet again, as they were 3 wide back further in the field. Chris Claude getting a run toward the inside of John Timms, but backing off. And I can't see why, because right now, if you can hold that line, you hold that line, man. As now Claude and Jeff Carson going to be side-by-side, almost side-by-side, as the 32 of Ian Humphreys and his teammate Matthew Helm trying to get in on the dance and catch up to their teammate John Timms up in 8th position right now. The biggest mover of the evening so far in the plus side is Carlos Ramos driving the number 97 Toyota Supra. The biggest mover going in the negative side is Matt White in the number 56, who is down 11 positions. So equidistant, but kind of strange to have Matt White so far back in this pack, as he is just ahead of Sim Racing Media's Sunday. Oh my, it looks like the 26 and the 56 get around. We are still under green, as those cars have gotten into the grass. We will run it back for you. That almost never happens here, folks, so you'll have to forgive me for the appearance of excitement. We're going to see exactly what happened here as we take you back to the replay, and we see the 56, the 25 gets down close to Chris Claude, checks up against the wall, bounces off the wall, and I guess what really seemed to have happened, we'll see if we can just get up here. Looks like Matthew Helm was close to Chris Claude and came down and collected the 56. As we are back under caution now. So more than likely a wise decision with all that mayhem there coming through the tri-oval, as we are going to be and it may have been a little net code there that had actually been between the the 25 and the 10. As to be completely honest, Chris Claude, the kind of driver that is never out there trying to run into anybody. Chris, if anything, should be a poster child for safe driving, because he is consistent and he is safe every week, every time we're here. And that number 10 Dasani Toyota is almost always clean when we get to the end of these races. And even now, not really a whole lot going on there as far as damage, it looks, as the drone cam kind of floats around him. And we just want to take one more look here from Matt White's perspective here in the number 56 as he manages to stay low, and there's the net code between the 25 and the 10, and we'll just take one more look at this as we do want to. So basically, net code, for those of you that are new to iRacing, net code is basically the internet throwing up on itself as two cars are near one another. iRacing anticipates something that doesn't actually happen, as we see Chris Claude coming up. They never make contact, but it sends the 25 into the wall, ricocheting down across the 56. The 25 manages to get it, to keep it straight. But the real, to me, the real talent here was Matt White, as we're going to watch him pirouette. And you'll have to stand by with us, folks, as we have the spam back in. So give me just a few minutes to clean up the YouTube.com feed. You'll have to forgive the spam in the YouTube live chat. That's something that can happen at so many times. And right now, the iRacing.com pace car dives down pit road yet again here on lap number 103. We will be green at lap 104 as Mike Wright gets ready. He's got Eugenio Alonso creeping up against the bumper. He hits the Geico restart zone, and we are back green flag racing as Mike Wright gets himself a lead over top of Eugenio Alonso and Josh Ward. Of course, those two drivers going to be side by side here going into turn one. It looks like Eugenio Alonso going to come out the victor of that individual battle. And, you know, I say individual battle, but these drivers all night long have been side-by-side racing, doing it in just the best way possible. And right now we see John Tim sniffing the rear bumper of Bob Nestor, and just in front of them, Carlos Ramos looking to make life difficult for Bennett Allen in the number 3 Chevrolet. As, you know, like I said earlier, that almost looks like a bomb pop from the Mr. Softy truck that Bennett has here going around in the prime Chevrolet. And he is now chasing down Josh Ward the best that he can. And I'll tell you what, it looks like he is going to get the run on Josh Ward, but Josh going to be able to hold him off, as you know, for longer than most drivers, as Josh very good defensively week in and week out here in the Monday Night NASCAR Xfinity Series on the Independence Racing Network. And folks, yes, Leo, you know what, if you want to click the link, I get it, research purposes only, but whatever happens to your computer after you click that, however many viruses that bot was about to inject your computer with, we had nothing to do with it here at the Independence Racing Network. And Tornado Man, yeah, I understand your frustration. And, you know, this, unfortunately, when you see spam like that appear in a YouTube live chat, that happens more often than not. basically they just see somebody who's not able to pay attention, and they're able to start sending those spam messages in there. And unfortunately, I'm working alone here in the broadcast booth, so it's hard for me to get those cleaned up while somebody else talks. So unfortunately, that would be the cause of the dead air from a few moments ago. But needless to say, the problem is cleaned up, and I do apologize for the spam in the youtube.com live chat. But hey, folks, listen, get in there and let us know who you're pulling for. Of course, we know who Leo's pulling for, Tornado Man. Just wondering who you're pulling for tonight here in MNN Xfinity Series action. I'm Dave Regal here in the Conshohocken, Pennsylvania studios of the Independence Racing Network. Calling all the shots from the green flag to the checkered flag here as Mike Wright leads the field with Eugenio Alonso and Josh Ward just behind him. Bennett Allen getting ready to dance with those two drivers. Carlos Ramos looking to make it a four-way battle coming soon. Bob Nestor in sixth position, Brandon Minto in seventh, John Timms in eighth, Brad Gunn in ninth, and Aaron Mack rounding out the top 10. And right where Aaron Mack is here, driving the number 31 on the outside of Ian Humphreys in the Premier Racing Setup Shop, Toyota Supra. Looks like we're going to have a four-way battle for 10th, as maybe five-way battle as Chris Claude, Joshua Coppernoll, Matt White, and the 32 of Ian Humphreys all vying for that 10th position here, as now that is turning into a three-way battle with the 56, the 32, and the 31. As we are on lap number 110 of 188 at Nashville Superspeedway here on the Independence Racing Network. In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have, breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today and know
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
I know belts and hoses, not X and O's. I do O2 sensors, but not defenses. Yeah, I make a right call to keep your car in the game. Don't even need a playbook, it's all in my brain. Fuel injectors, alternators, radiators too. It's who I am, it's what I do. Never know how. Never know how.
There's a new approach to lawn care, Preen One Lawn Care. Preen One does away with the hassle of multiple bags of different products. It has everything you need for a beautiful lawn in one bag. And all it takes is one application. For season-long weed control and feeding, apply the granules when the lawn is wet and weeds are actively growing. It blocks crabgrass all season. It prevents crabgrass seeds from growing. It kills the seedlings too, even when applied 4 weeks after they sprout. It's your best defense against tough weeds like dandelion, chickweed, henbit, and hundreds more. Plus, its slow-release formula feeds the lawn evenly for months to build stronger roots for maximum heat and drought resistance. Preen One delivers convenience and better performance in one package with one application. Spend more time enjoying your lawn and less time working on it. Preen One, and it's done. It's a lawn dream come true.
Folks, welcome back to Nashville Superspeedway. I'm Dave Regal here with the Independence Racing Network on YouTube.com. Bennett Allen right now managed to get around Bob Nestor during our commercial break side-by-side action. And right now, we're looking to work his way around Carlos Ramos as now we have a heated battle for second position. But listen, right now, all night long, these drivers have been keeping it real out on the racetrack. As Mike Wright, with the almost 3-second lead he has, as now Carlos Ramos has gotten into the wall, maybe a little tight here, has to cede that position away, allowing yet Brandon Minto to get right back past him here on lap number 117 of 188. We are in stage 3 here in MNN Xfinity Series action. And I'll tell you what, all night long, these drivers have been keeping it pretty clean altogether. Not that many cautions, not that many incidents. One thing that I did notice is that Bob Nestor kind of wanted Bennett Allen to get around him nicely, and we're seeing it right here again as, quite frankly, Bennett Allen kind of aggressive when he's starting to pass people. And Bob, of course, wants to keep that number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra as clean as he possibly can here in the final stage as we are on lap number 118. So just over 70 laps to go as Bob is now setting sail for Mike Wright to try to cut down on this 3.6 second gap here at Nashville Superspeedway. And we see the 71 of Glenn Ballard starting to look to the inside of Ian Humphreys in the number 32. He takes that position fairly easily, but Humphreys not ready to give it up easy as he is still riding the high side, but Ballard able to swing out of turn 4, securing away 11th position. Now Brad Gunn, the next driver in Glenn's crosshairs here as we go into turn 1. Glenn gets a heck of a run on Brad Gunn, and it looks like Glenn Ballard here in the number 71 Ford Mustang really starting to make some hay here in the later stage of this race. And even so, Aaron Mack has a rear view mirror full of Brad Gunn, and just in front of him, your stage 1 winner, yet stage 2 runner-up, Eugenio Alonso, all the way back here in 8th position right now, following John Timms. Not sure how he had wound up so far back, but at this stage in the game, it looks like Eugenio not trying to crack that top 5 at the moment. But speaking of the top 5, Matt White in the number 56, who was involved in that wreck earlier, able to recover and get himself rolling right around again, chasing Bennett Allen down in the number 3 Chevrolet, that bomb pop looking paint scheme, with Brandon Minto, Mike Wright's teammate, now in 3rd, but Bob Nestor putting the space between himself and Minto, as Minto now behind Nestor nearly 1.5 seconds, and Bob Nestor very quietly just cut Mike Wright's time distance by about 1/10 of a second here, as we are going to cross the start-finish line one more time for lap number 123 of 188. We are going to have you folks turn it up and enjoy the sounds of this race at Nashville Superspeedway. 130 laps of 188 in the books tonight. Mike Wright, your race leader right now from Greensboro, North Carolina, also your points leader. Looks like Jeff Carson was just off track. We're going to take a look at that. And we see Jeff Carson here just getting loose, coming out of turn 4, down into the grass. Manages to keep it straight and get himself, without too much of a problem, back up onto the track, but now running in 16th position and coming down into the pits to get that car looked at. Of course, the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra, always out here running strong, so hopefully he can get back rolling. But we are under caution here, as now Glenn Ballard seems to have crashed. We'll take a look at that. And we see Ballard here in the number 71 being split and then run into by the 32 of Ian Humphreys and just annihilated. And of course, then Humphreys, you know what? We're going to look at this from Humphreys' perspective too. You know, I got to say that was definitely kind of ugly. And we're going to take a look here from Ian Humphreys as we see that they were 3 wide. That's interesting. Almost looks like, you know what? We're going to go to a different car yet, as it looks like Chris Claude is going to have had the best perspective. Chris sees the problem here and dives down low as he can see things, bad things happening between the 32 and the 71, gets around, and then this happens. The 32 just slides directly up into the 71, annihilates him, and then the 32 manages to keep it running, but then sideswiped by Joshua Coppernoll, as Joshua was probably trying to lock him up and get away from him, as we are now back under caution at Nashville Superspeedway on lap number 134 of 188. Mike Wright, your race leader, coming down pit road for service. And he is going to come in, try to get 4 tires and a tank of Go Fast here. And I'll tell you what, those Mr. Feelgoods better last him a while, as we are just over 50 laps to the end now, as looks like Mike Wright getting off a pit road before everybody else, beating the line. But Bob Nestor, your MNN Xfinity Series commissioner, coming out in P2. Brandon Minto, Carlos Ramos, Matt White, John Timms, Aaron Mack, Chris Claude, Bennett Allen, and Eugenio Alonso round out the top 10. But it looks like Bennett Allen and Eugenio Alonso staying down in the pits a little bit longer, as now Tony Burt, who is just down a lap, now back on the lead lap, running in 9th position. So Tony Burt getting his comeuppance, as he is now running in 9th place. And it looks like our good friend Austin Story in the YouTube.com live chat says that he has clicked the link, and let's see if we can find him. Maybe he's over here in Discord and see what he may have just stepped into. Nope. Unfortunately, Austin Story not in the Discord here, but would have been nice to be able to check in with him and see what happened when he clicked the links that were spammed into the YouTube.com live chat. Just glad that he didn't destroy his computer. Of course, if you were a teenage boy in the mid-2000s, you probably wrecked a computer or two of your families back when, you know, Morpheus and LimeWire, FrostWire, all the big ones were out there basically just virus services. The iRacing.com pace car light is out. Looks like the 13 car of Corey Burkett going to drive around and get one of his laps back, one of his several laps back that he needs. But hey, listen, every little bit helps, especially when you're running way back in 19th and just about 15 laps down. So good for him as he is going to make his push. But up here on the lead laps, looks like Mike Wright going to lead us off on the inside of row 1 with Bob Nestor on the outside. Brandon Minto, Carlos Ramos, John Timms, Matt White, Chris Claude, Aaron Mack, Bennett Allen, and Brad Gunn rounding out the top 10. Your lead lap cars included Eugenio Alonso, Matt Mackin, Joshua Coppernoll, Ian Humphreys in the number 32 Toyota Supra, and Tony Burt managing to get himself back onto the lead lap, getting caught up to the field right now, comes off a pit road, and he should have just enough time to get in line and get with the pack. But right now we're going to be watching ever so closely as Bob Nestor and Mike Wright bring us back to the green flag as the iRacing.com pace car dives down. Mike Wright going to be entering the Geico restart zone any moment here as Brandon Minto, his teammate, going to be pushing like crazy. They hit that green flag and take off on lap number 137 in MNN Xfinity Series action from Nashville Superspeedway. Bob Nestor now falling back just a hair, trying to hold Matt White down there on the low side. Nestor trying to get the run to go down the backstretch as he is in a little bit of a mess here with Matt White and Carlos Ramos as we are back under yellow as Joshua Coppernoll seems to have crashed. We're going to take a look. And actually, it looks like Joshua Coppernoll may have been just wrapped up in the mess, but we see a 3-wide situation here with Brad Gunn, the meat in that 3-wide sandwich just underneath Chris Claude. And then Bennett Allen just comes up and just bangs into Brad Gunn's inside door, and all kinds of mayhem has seemed to have ensued. So we'll take a look at this from several different angles. We're going to go to the chopper right now. Go to the chopper and check this out. As again, we see right there, that white car in the middle is Brad Gunn in the number 36, the meat in that 3-wide sandwich between Eugenio Alonso and Chris Claude. With Bennett Allen here in the 3 car, that bomb pop just seems to have gone off as he just drives down into the corner, and rather than back out, he gets sucked right up into Brad Gunn. They bounce off of one another. Brad Gunn collects the 10 car, or I'm sorry, the 01 car, that Bass Pro Shops machine, and all kinds of hell has just broken loose on the backstretch here at Nashville Superspeedway. So obviously going to be some hurt feelings and hurt cars here as we are on lap number 139 of 188. So just about 48 laps, 49, 50 laps now to the end.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
There's a new approach to lawn care, Preen One Lawn Care. Preen One does away with the hassle of multiple bags of different products. It has everything you need for a beautiful lawn in one bag. And all it takes is one application. For season-long weed control and feeding, apply the granules when the lawn is wet and weeds are actively growing. It blocks crabgrass all season. It prevents crabgrass seeds from growing. It kills the seedlings too, even when applied 4 weeks after they sprout. It's your best defense against tough weeds like dandelion, chickweed, henbit, and hundreds more. Plus, its slow-release formula feeds the lawn evenly for months to build stronger roots for maximum heat and drought resistance. Preen One delivers convenience and better performance in one package with one application. Spend more time enjoying your lawn and less time working on it. Preen One, and it's done. It's a lawn dream come true.
I know belts and hoses, not X and O's. I do O2 sensors, but not defenses. Yeah, I make a right call to keep your car in the game. Don't even need a playbook, it's all in my brain. Fuel injectors, alternators, radiators too. It's who I am, it's what I do. Never know how. Never know how.
Getting ready to go back green here at Nashville Superspeedway in the MNN Xfinity Series here on the Independence Racing Network. I'm Dave Riegel here at the microphone. Glad to have you with us, as it looks like we're about to be spammed again, so we're going to try to remove that just before it gets even worse. Austin Story observing exactly what happened with Bennett Allen, which I'm sure that not too many people out on the racetrack right now are happy with Bennett Allen after what just happened there. But Mike Wright waiting for the iRacing.com pace car to dive down pit road yet again here at Nashville Superspeedway. And you'll see as we enter the Geico restart zone just how quick Mike Wright is as he hits that second Geico logo and takes off as the green flag waves, and we are back underway on lap number 143 of 188 at Nashville Superspeedway. Bob Nestor working the inside of Brandon Minto. That's Mike Wright's teammate there on the high side. Nestor diving down into turn 2, managing to keep it steady as we come back. Turn 3, as we manage to keep it steady coming into the tri-oval. Looks like Nestor going to hold his line, as he is a driver that is absolutely unfazed by the pressure of being side by side the way he is right now. We're going to hop inside the number 29 Toyota Supra, and we see Bob just real nice and calm here, riding around, logging those laps, and we're going to take a look out his window as we do see Brandon Minto not there anymore, and there he is just outside the rear of the number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra. Eugenio Alonso working the inside of Aaron Mack right now. Eugenio making sure that he's holding it steady as Aaron Mack, who had been involved in a wreck earlier this evening, is holding his line, and I'm going to have to sit here and clear out some more spam in the YouTube.com live chat. As it looks like while I'm doing that, Aaron Mack ceding that position to Eugenio Alonso, who is now running in 6th position, setting sail for Carlos Ramos, who is also our biggest mover in the plus side, up 12 positions from whence he had started. And the number 97 Toyota Supra now chasing down Brandon Minto and the likes of Bob Nestor. Bob, of course, getting ready to set sail, put Matt White back into 3rd, and Matt White holding a 4/10 of a second lead over Nestor, as he has about a 4/10 of a second gap between himself and our race leader, Mike Wright. And just as I was talking about it earlier, Matt White and Mike Wright A lot of times they're side by side toward the end of these races, and this week is absolutely no different. Here on lap number 147 of 188, we're in stage 3. There's nothing left on the table but asphalt, in this case concrete in front of you, and asphalt there on the apron. And I'll tell you what, Mike Wright getting faster as we go, as he now has a half-second lead over Matt White. And looks like the 42 is going to be coming back down pit road. Not sure if he's having some kind of a mechanical issue, but he is leading Matt Mackin right now and gives up that position, 12th now to Mackin, as the 42 with some front-end damage on that machine coming down for some repair work, as we are now in the final stage with just about 41 laps to go, as Mike Wright leads Matt White, Bob Nestor, Brandon Minto, Eugenio Alonso, and Carlos Ramos down the backstretch into turn 3, going through the turn 4 complex and coming out onto that front tri-oval. This race is far from over, as the 3 drivers atop the pile, Wright, White, and Nestor, are absolutely 3 of the most talented drivers, and we see Nestor starting to reel in Matt White here on lap number 149. And I'm going to be putting dollars to donuts here, as Grandpa Evans would say, and say that Bob Nestor going to work his way around Matt White before this evening is complete. Meanwhile, speaking of working around one another, looks like Brandon Minto being pushed out of the way by Carlos Ramos, as Carlos has the inside line locked down like a prison, and he is managing to get around Brandon Minto now. Corey Burkett one more time seems to have had himself the end of the evening, as he is now in the pits and has jumped the pits, which means he has taken the tow to get out of everyone else's way. Meanwhile, the 31 of Aaron Mack getting ready to make it interesting on the inside of Brandon Minto. His teammate, of course, Brandon Minto's teammate, of course, Mike Wright, leading the field right now in P1 and has had control of this field since the end of stage 2. Aaron Mack sliding in front of Chris Claude in the number 10 Dasani Toyota Supra, as looks like Chris going to be locking down a top 10 performance this evening. The SNN Cup Series commissioner, so aptly named Mr. Consistency, has not come off of those marks all night long and has managed to geez, I'm Christmas, some more spam here in the youtube.com live chat. But anyway, Chris Claude, Mr. Consistency, hitting those marks lap after lap, week after week, and it's paying off as he is getting deeper and deeper into the top 10, chasing down now Brandon Minto and Aaron Mack. Taking a look now at Eugenio Alonso, who had won stage 1. Looks like he is going to try to fight his way up into the top 3 and try to get to that podium before all is said and done tonight. But right now, the podium pretty secure with Wright, White, and Nestor atop the pile. Aaron Mack splitting Brandon Minto and Chris Claude, as Chris Claude still trying to reel him in. And I do believe that Chris will, before the end of this evening, reel him the rest of the way in and get around Aaron Mack. Folks, if you are just tuning in on youtube.com, you have tuned in at the right time, as we are in stage number 3 here at the Nashville Superspeedway. MNN Xfinity Series action brought to you proudly by Northeastern Fire and Air and the Independence Racing Network. Of course, our good friends over at RS Button Boxes and Butt Kicker absolutely need to be mentioned this evening, as of course RS Button Boxes and Butt Kicker both providing some of the prizes that these drivers are racing for this season here in the MNN Xfinity Series, which is part of the SNN, or Sunday Night NASCAR, series of a family of racing. Of course, we have Cup Series every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. in prime time, as Chris Claude gets tight and now sitting behind John Timms. So maybe I jinxed Chris Claude. I'm sorry if I did, Chris. You can send your hate mail to me here in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. But RS Button Boxes and Butt Kicker, of course, providing some of the prizes that these drivers are racing for this season. The SNN family of racing, of course, has the Davis Brothers Roofing Cup Series on a Sunday night in prime time on SRM, Sim Racing Media, or ESPN, the Esports Broadcasting Network, on YouTube.com. We're in prime time Sunday nights at 8:30. Of course, you can catch Joshua Coppernoll tonight, the driver of the number 42 Chevrolet, alongside his normal broadcast partner, Mr. Joseph Lester. And, of course, Monday nights we're here with Xfinity Series action on the Independence Racing Network. And then Tuesday nights for Thunder Trucks, you can check out my good friend Brian Britt over at the Performance Motor Network as Truck Series racing action gets going at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Performance Motor Network. So glad to have all three of these series broadcasted, of course, you know, by separate entities and groups. Of course, I'm here on loan from Sim Racing Media and ESPN. Of course, you know, here in the Conshohocken, Pennsylvania studios of the Independence Racing Network. And IRN, of course, is the exclusive broadcaster of MNN Xfinity Series action. And speaking of action, looks like we're going to have some fireworks between Brandon Minto and Carlos Ramos, as Ramos is holding the outside line away from Minto, and looks like Minto wants to get in there and dance with him, but just can't get the run that he needs to get around Ramos, as now it looks like he might get a little help from behind, as Aaron Mack lining up behind Minto, maybe giving him a little bit of aero push. And speaking of aero push, we see the rear end of the 12 car getting loose, as you know, it looks like Aaron Mack just starting to break that bubble that is behind the rear bumper there of the number 97. With a half-second lead over Matt White, Mike Wright is out here on lap 160 of 188, so just under 30 laps to go now in this piece, as Matt White now has about an 0.8 of a second lead over Bob Nestor, and Bob is really the one putting the gap between these top three and the rest of the field, as he has a 3.5 second lead over Eugenio Alonso, and then there's a 1.5 second gap between Alonso and Brandon Minto. So right now, the top three not really hoping to see a caution anytime soon, as we are just about just over 20 laps to go, as we are lap 161 of 188 at the Nashville Superspeedway.
There's a new approach to lawn care, Preen One Lawn Care. Preen One does away with the hassle of multiple bags of different products. It has everything you need for a beautiful lawn in one bag. And all it takes is one application. For season-long weed control and feeding, apply the granules when the lawn is wet and weeds are actively growing. It blocks crabgrass all season. It prevents crabgrass seeds from growing. It kills the seedlings too, even when applied 4 weeks after they sprout. It's your best defense against tough weeds like dandelion, chickweed, henbit, and hundreds more. Plus, its slow-release formula feeds the lawn evenly for months to build stronger roots for maximum heat and drought resistance. Preen One delivers convenience and better performance in one package with one application. Spend more time enjoying your lawn and less time working on it. Preen One, and it's done. It's a lawn dream come true.
In 2007, Ray Regal had a vision of serving his fellow firefighters' breathing air needs better. As a City of Reading firefighter since 1975, he knows the difficulties of finding the best and most affordable service company to care for and manage the most important means of survival firefighters have, breathing air. Northeastern Fire and Air is committed to providing our brothers and sisters with the best service in the industry and at an affordable cost. For more information, call 610-207-6608 for a consultation today, and know that you can breathe easy with Northeastern Fire and Air.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Lap 166 of 188 here at Nashville Superspeedway in MNN Xfinity Series action. I'm Dave Regal here with the Independence Racing Network, bringing you everything from the green flag to the checkered flag. And we are marching toward that checkered flag here as Mike Wright leads the field with Matt White just behind him by 1.35 seconds. Bob Nestor now with a 1.2 second gap between himself and Mike Wright. Right now the big gap is between Nestor and Alonso, as Eugenio Alonso trails Nestor by 2.77 seconds, and then even further between Alonso and Ramos, as Carlos Ramos is behind Alonso by nearly 4 seconds. So things definitely nice and calm up here as at the top of the pile you see these three drivers managing to keep it clean. But there is a knot here of 6 cars from Eugenio Alonso, Brandon Minto, Aaron Mack, Chris Claude, then John Timms and his teammate Ian Humphreys. All 6 of these cars vying desperately to get up here to Carlos Ramos as Ramos rubs the wall. Now Minto drops down behind Chris Claude and has Aaron Mack on his inside, taking away that line where he can swing. So a lot of real estate up for grabs amongst these 6 cars as we come down the backstretch yet again here at Nashville Superspeedway. $19 to go here for MNN Xfinity Series Commissioner Bob Nestor, as he is running in 3rd position right now, that final spot on the podium. And quite frankly, between himself, Matt White, and Mike Wright, these 3 drivers seem to have that podium locked down. But Eugenio Alonso not willing to be put to bed early tonight, as he is chasing down Nestor. Slowly but surely has now closed that gap to 2.3 seconds and leaving Carlos Ramos in the dust with nearly a 5-second gap between himself and the number 97. Meanwhile, Chris Claude chasing down Carlos Ramos. Looks like he is ready to play and start playing rough, as Chris is now looking to the inside of Ramos. And I'll tell you what, this is going to be a heck of a battle here, as we see Chris, who is usually not aggressive, getting ready to turn on the jets and get to the inside of Carlos Ramos, as he is able to take the inside line away from Ramos, doesn't get tight, holds the inside, and they come out of the turn 4 onto the front stretch side by side as we get ready to pass the start-finish line once more, as Chris just needs a little bit extra here going into turn 1. Does he have enough? Not quite yet, but it looks like Claude and Ramos going to be duking this one out pretty tight here, as Claude not going to be giving up the inside line, as he doesn't want to give up that real estate, gets ready to slide behind Ramos and maybe get ready to take another run at him here in the next few laps. And at this point, more so trying to give those tires a break, as he was just smoking them like it was a Cheech and Chong movie. Taking a look at John Timms, who's about to be challenged by Brandon Minto in the number 12 Chevrolet. Brandon, of course, the teammate of Mike Wright, who sits atop the pile and the points. Also having Ian Humphreys all up in his rearview mirror, as we are just 15 laps to go here at Nashville Superspeedway. I'm Dave Regal here in the Independence Racing Network broadcast booth, and I have to tell you, folks, week in and week out, I see these drivers, come out to the track. They've sat and they have built these setups and they have worked their tails off to get where they are tonight. I mean, Ian Humphreys here running in 10th position. Of course, he is sponsored by the Premier Racing Setup Shop. And, obviously his teammates, John Timms in the number 46 and the 25 car of Matthew Helm. Of course, Matthew Helm out of this race this evening by about 70 laps. These three drivers usually sticking together pretty close, but right now, Ian Humphreys and John Timms separated by Brandon Minto, and we can see these two teammates on either side of Minto here in the middle of your screen, and Minto, of course, trying to do his best to catch up with his teammate of Mike Wright, who sits atop the pile with 2.3 seconds between himself and Matt White, and Bob Nestor with about 1 second now between himself and Eugenio Alonso. Sounds like Chris Claude finally had to give up, and it looks like he's got a little bit of a crinkle here, so we're going to run that back and see what happened. And it looks like this may be where it happened. We see Chris, just buying a piece of the wall, but keeping it rolling, as now he has scuffed up the number 10 Dasani Toyota. Car manufacturers pretty much sticking together tonight. Right now, Eugenio Alonso kind of the fly in the soup here of Toyotas from second all the way back to 8th. So Eugenio Alonso kind of in no man's land as the only Chevrolet up there in Toyota land. Then basically there's there's three Chevrolets running 12th, 13th, and 14th. But otherwise, it seems to be a night for Toyotas here in MNN Xfinity Series action. Those Supras just seem to take really well here to Nashville Superspeedway. Chris Claude working the inside of Brandon Minto one more time here as he is trying to get back up to where he was running originally before he had rubbed the wall a few laps ago. So Chris obviously not going to be satisfied with just a top 10. He's pushing for the top 5. And, I can't blame him at all. As much as Chris works hard every week to make sure he keeps this league running the way that he has to from his Cup Series commissioner's perch, he absolutely wants to be successful out on the track as well as in the front office here in the SNN family of racing on iRacing.com. Nine laps to go here. Mike Wright, your race leader. Bob Nestor probably sweating a little bit right now as Eugenio Alonso has really chewed into his lead at one point, nearly a 3-second lead between Alonso and Nestor, as right now Nestor barely holding him off, as it looks like Alonso trying to challenge him for that third and final spot on the podium with just 8 to go. So either Alonso was holding off or Nestor was in full send mode and cooked those tires off the number 29 Relative Properties Toyota Supra. But we're gonna keep it right here as we see Alonso working now the inside of Nestor, and Nestor giving up third position to Alonso with really no pomp and circumstance whatsoever. A faster car, and Bob Nestor just being an absolute gentleman on the racetrack. But you know what? Sometimes we're gonna, as we get deeper into this season, gentleman behaviors from a lot of these drivers are going to start to evaporate, as especially tempers are going to start to flare. Alonso now working on the low side of the 01 lapped car of Matt Mackin. He gets past him with relative ease, as does Nestor in the Relative Properties Toyota. You see what I did there? Relative ease, relative properties. It all goes together. Here with 6 to go now at Nashville Superspeedway. I'm Dave Riegel here in the Independence Racing Network studios in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania. Glad to have you with us as we are watching Mike Wright run away with his possibly 4th win in a row. with 5 to go now. And, last week he secured the turkey. Now he's going for that ham bone with 4 in a row in bowling terms. Matt White, of course, in the number 56, chasing him down, but a lot of real estate between those two. And Bob Nestor probably fairly frustrated as Eugenio Alonso was able to just chew right into his tire tracks and get around him for that third and final spot on the podium this evening, with now 4 to go as they cross the start-finish line. Mike Wright working around Tony Burt. Tony Burt, of course, having come back down from a couple of laps down, was back on the lead lap and now being put down a lap. And, you hate to see that, especially with a guy like Tony Burt, who, Tony is the kind of driver who is out here to be a good sportsman. I mean, if you're looking for someone for your race team, you make sure that you check in with Tony Burt. There is nobody more encouraging to be out on the racetrack with. And, we all have bad nights, and, we've all had our fair share of them. But Tony is never discouraged. He's always here working harder and harder to be a better racer, to be the best that's out there on the track, and most importantly, to make people feel welcome. So Tony Burt, quite a guy, quite a gentleman, and kind of sad to see him down a lap as Mike Wright leads this piece now, as the gap between Nestor and Alonso has opened up to an unhealthy 0.85 for Nestor with just 2 to go. And we should see the white flag fly once Mike Wright comes out of turn 4 this time around, as he is down the backstretch leading Tony Burt, the lap car, and of course Matt Mackin in the 01. Matt White running P2, Eugenio Alonso in P3, as Mike Wright comes through turn 4 back onto the tri-oval. We'll see the man in the stand with the white flag in his hand. And this is the final lap at Nashville Superspeedway in MNN Xfinity Series racing action. And right now, the tightest race on track is between Aaron Mack and Carlos Ramos and Aaron Mack. And it looked like Ramos was giving Mack a run for his money there. But Mike Wright, your points leader in MNN Xfinity Series action, comes through turn 4, through the Geico restart zone one more time. I have been with you from the green flag to the checkered flag here in MNN Xfinity Series action. Mike Wright, your race winner for his 4th win in a row, gets the ham bone and wraps up the evening here in Lebanon, Tennessee. And we see Mike Wright celebrating there just around the start-finish line. We've got a good camera on him, waiting for him to drop down into the broadcast waiting room. So give us just a few moments here to get ourselves organized, and we will get you that race winner. And here we are trying to get a hold of Mike Wright, our race winner. Mike Wright, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy, brother?
I'm here.
Hey, man, listen, you got that ham bone 4 in a row now. The pride of Greensboro, North Carolina. Listen, man, you had the number 98 dialed in from stage 2 to the end of stage 3. What a win, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, a little bit of adjustment there after stage 1, and then like I said in the interview there that we did, just being out front and being able to pace myself without having to come up through the traffic a little bit, that made a big difference. And it seemed like, I don't know, 25, 30 laps in, started to get a little bit more out of the tires versus some others, and paid off.
Absolutely, man. I mean, listen, you had a consistent gap all night between yourself and whoever was in second place. Didn't even matter who it was, and really the toughest battle was basically everybody from fourth and beyond. I mean, you were just out there picking them up and laying them down and hitting every mark. I mean, in my opinion, from sitting up here in a broadcast booth, if somebody ever wants to know how to run a race consistently, they need to watch you, man. I mean, I don't know how many average laps do you generally practice, before we hit green flag?
It varies. I had done quite a bit of official races, and then I kind of cut that back with trying to run a couple of these longer races on Monday and Tuesday. So I hadn't hit as many official races as I maybe previously would. So I just try to make a couple good medium length runs, and make a couple of adjustments one way or the other, just so I have an idea what it might do in the race. And then when the session opens before the race actually starts, then I kind of work on qualifying there. It's a good time to just kind of knock out a few qualifying laps. But it varies, but I feel like I get pretty good confidence once I get a good couple medium length runs in during the week, and get an idea where the car might go when I change it.
Well, everything that you're doing is absolutely clicking and has been, all season long. I mean, you're definitely padding that lead in our point standings over Bobby. So, congratulations, man. And before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to tip your helmet to and give a shout out?
Oh yeah, well, you mentioned Bobby. Missed him tonight. That was somebody in the field that would have been some force to reckon with for sure. But Brandon and I running these Xfinity races, I enjoy it. We talk through the whole race and have some fun. And I know he struggled there a little bit on the long run at the end, but he's doing well. And then I have my man Larry giving me the Larry McReynolds view, if you will, which is kind of keeping me up on who's moving where. So, but other than that, we're just having a good night, and hopefully we'll make the truck race there tomorrow, and we can have some more fun.
All right, man. Well, listen, congratulations on yet another win. So you go ahead and you can burn the tires right off of that number 98 Ford, and we thank you, sir.
You're welcome. I'll give you a little smoke before I go.
All right, brother. That was Mike Wright, our race winner, as he is going to smoke these tires one more time here, as he wants to make sure these fans know how much that they're appreciated here at Nashville Superspeedway. And right now, as we watch Mike Wright burn the tires off of that Ford Mustang, want to check in with Matt White, P2 here at the end of this race. Matt White, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Oh, yeah, definitely. How you doing tonight, Dave?
Every day is a new adventure on the Independence Racing Network, my friend. Listen, heck of a run tonight. You came back, you had dropped back pretty far in the field and then managed to fight your way back up here to P2. I mean, you had that number 56 Toyota Supra dialed in pretty tight, didn't you?
Yeah, that we had it really working there at the end. I wish I had it working as good in the beginning that I did at the end. I just kept knocking the wall down, so it kind of tore the right side of the car off. Had to fix it, go to the back. Did it again. Had to fix it, go to the back. Then I got wrecked in the last caution, and it was kind of the second caution before the last one. And I was like, man, I don't know, fix it, go to the back, and just drove to the field. I mean, it was on rails, and if I had something that wasn't completely destroyed, I think I'd have had something from Mike there at the end.
Yeah, man, here's the thing. Mike Wright once he hits that clean air out in front of everybody else, it's a wrap. I mean, he hits every mark. And I mean, you were doing the exact same thing. I mean, you had a lot of space between yourself and Mike, and you were picking them up and laying them down, hitting your marks every time. So it was an impressive P2 performance tonight, especially coming back from as deep in the field as you had gotten at that point. So
yeah, definitely. If there's a hard charger award, I probably got that for sure. I mean, these guys, they do good work every week, and hopefully next week we can go get him. I'm pretty good at road courses, so I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely, man. I mean, listen, Stewartville, Minnesota is absolutely proud of you tonight, sir. And before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you need to tip your visor to and give a shout out?
Yeah, I just want to thank Skylar Sweeney at JCB out of Grand Meadow, Minnesota. Want to thank Lead, of course, for the sets, and I also want to thank Ward's Towing, Verbal Controls. They really make all this possible.
All right, man. Well, listen, we appreciate you, and we'll cut you loose, but we'll see you next week as we've got a little bit of road racing coming.
It looks fun.
All right, man. Have a good night. And last but certainly not least on our podium this evening is the man, the myth, the legend, the number 86 Chevrolet driver, Eugenio Alonso. Eugenio Alonso, Dave Regal up in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Hey, Dave. How are you, man?
I'm good, brother. Listen, you had one heck of a car tonight as you had taken the green and white checkered flag for stage 1. And then it was almost like you were just messing around with Bob Nestor, and all of a sudden, with 8 laps to go, you just blew the doors off of him. I mean, how was that Chevrolet handling tonight?
My car was fast tonight, especially in long race, in long runs. It's a shame I have damage, but I think in long run I could fight with Mike.
Absolutely, man. I mean, listen, I saw you coming off of pit road at the end of stage 1, and Mike had to have beaten you by just barely the nose, maybe a bolt head, coming out of the front of his car there, coming off of pit road. I mean, you had the car that, probably the only car that could have stuck it side by side with Mike Wright. I mean, just a great night for you, man.
Yeah, it was my fault in pits. I have a little damage. I tried to repair, and when I saw Mike come, I tried to start, but I lost the first position. It was my fault.
Well, I guess that goes under the category of stuff happens, But, Eugenio, listen, before we cut you loose, is there anybody that you'd like to thank and give a shout-out to tonight?
Yes, I thank to Reaper guys. He will good setup, a really good setup great setup for this race.
All right, man. Well, listen, we appreciate your time, and we will see you next week at Road America.
Road course.
Yeah, that's
it's
hard
for,
I know that's
it's really hard for me.
Yeah, well, you know what? You've got a chance to really light it up next week, brother.
I go to practice right now.
All right, buddy. Listen, have a good night, and we appreciate you.
Thank you, then. Have a good night.
Well, folks, another race in the books here with the MNN Xfinity Series drivers, and, I can't get over how good these drivers are week in and week out. I mean, they never cease to amaze me, as Eugenio Alonso was just able to absolutely shock the world as, Bob Nestor had such a lead over top of him. And I'm sure Bob's probably not happy with himself. But, at the end of the day, that's racing. And, quite frankly, I know that he'll be back next week for Road America to challenge it again. Let's go through the grid here. As, like we said earlier, Mike Wright, your race winner, followed by Matt White. Eugenio Alonso in third. Looks like that was the end of his engine. Bob Nestor in fourth. Carlos Ramos in fifth. Aaron Mack, John Timms, Brandon Minto, and Ian Humphreys round out your top 9 with Glenn Ballard in the number 71, rounding out the top 10. Chris Claude, the SNN Cup Series commissioner, in 11th. Tony Burt coming back from a couple of laps down, able to finish on the lead lap there, or just behind, 1 lap down. In the number 4 Chevrolet. Matt Mackin, Joshua Coppernoll, and Brad Gunn round out the top 15. Bennett Allen, Jeff Carson in the number 9 Napa Auto Parts Toyota Supra in 17th. Corey Burkett in 18th with Josh Ward and Matthew Helm rounding out the field tonight at Nashville Superspeedway. And folks, one of the things that we talk about more often than anything is there's always next week. These drivers like Bob Nestor, who had, the podium pretty well locked down, there's always next week. And next week's a road course, so it's kind of a wild card, as so many of us, including myself, not really comfortable on the road courses, so we're going to see a different form of racing. We're going to see different strategies, pit strategies, and, so a totally different ball game when we come back next Monday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time here on the Independence Racing Network. And, folks, if you are watching us from start to finish, make sure that you turn on those bell notifications, subscribe to the Independence Racing Network, so that every Monday night you can be notified when we get ready to go live. So for everybody here at the Independence Racing Network, which as you can see is just me, I'm Dave Regal, and glad to have you with us here on the Independence Racing Network. Brought to you by Northeastern Fire and Air, Butt Kicker, RS Button Boxes, Preen, Napa, and of course, Freedom. Good night, everybody.